Hello, Contrarians, listeners, watchers, subscribers. Here we are with the somewhat final chapter in our Spider-Man adventure, our Tom Holland Spider-Man adventure. I guess our overall Spider-Man adventure. Everything comes together here. The only thing that was missing was Jake Johnson. I don't think I got to make that joke when we were recording the episode, Alex. I was like, why didn't Ned keep opening portals? Can you imagine? We get like John Mulaney come out there.
Nick Cage,
Nick Cage.
Noir Spider-Man.
Yeah. I think they're doing a live action noir Spider-Man TV show on Amazon. I think I read that somewhere.
Why not?
With Nick Cage attached, so
Yeah.
you can't say they're not trying. Well, here we are, Spider-Man: No Way Home, as fresh, if not maybe fresher than Far From Home.
I think it's just by a scotch. I think Far From Home was like 90% or 91%, and this is 93%.
Yeah, so we're in the same area of they really love this movie, the critics, and audiences did as well, and that means that we are going to be negative. We're going to try our best to be negative in the main episode, and then we tell you how we really feel. If you listen to the Far From Home episode, and you should have, so you can get the full experience, then you know that Alex wasn't too hot on it, and I was, and the episode is me trying to convince him that it's okay to have fun sometimes, and then Alex saying, I refuse, I do not consent to having fun, but also begrudgingly acknowledging that the ending kind of hooked him. So the ending leads into this. Spider-Man No Way Home, where everything comes together, not just from this universe, but from other universes as well. We're going to do some extra Rotten Tomatoes quotes, some extra trivia. We're going to talk about the trailer. I'm going to do the Josh Gad Minute. All this in this here video. So, Alex, let's get started. We're going to start with the quotes. And before the quotes, the consensus. 93%, as you said. A bigger, bolder Spider-Man sequel, No Way Home, expands the franchise's scope and stakes without losing sight of its humor and heart. Famously, the episode is being out for like a week, maybe. You did not find Far From Home that funny. Like, there were a few things that you laughed at and you pointed out, but for the most part, something that happens in that episode repeatedly is me saying, but wasn't that funny? And it got like crickets.
Not really.
Yeah.
And we talk about this in the No Way Home episode. I did, to make sure if you just stumbled upon this and you're not familiar with us otherwise, to prove like I'm not a curmudgeon, I rewatched Homecoming before we did this, and because I love Homecoming, so that is like, as it's below but up there with the first two Raimi movies in terms of Spider-Man movies for me. So if you just, it's not that I dislike all these, so that's the
right.
If you want to know my issues with Far From Home, you can listen to that.
Yes. Also, I guess it's worth pointing out that before getting into No Way Home, we did the Andrew Garfield stop on our Patreon channel, and Alex watched both. He went through both Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. I just did the second one, and we had a good discussion about Amazing Spider-Man 2, which Alex hadn't seen before, which is kind of vital. Yes, but it's kind of like an important stepping stone on the way to No Way Home because of what happens with that character. So anyway, let's get to the quotes. I'm going to start with Chris Kennedy from the Canberra Times, Australia, who says, the spontaneous cheers in the cinema for Spider-Man No Way Home were well worth it. Alex, when was the last time you cheered at a movie theater?
It would have either been like, it had to have been something that like it was a gimmick screening of something,
right?
Like, like a Friday the 13th or something. I've told this story before. Me and my friends, my buddies, went to see Expendables 2, and we were it was the theater we worked at, which those movies didn't really draw there, and it was like a Saturday afternoon, and we were the only people in the theater, so we were like rambunctious and whatnot, like hooting and hollering when I remember when JCVD spin kicked a knife into Liam Hemsworth's heart. That got a huge reaction from the crowd, the peanut gallery. But yeah, as like when I go to see, like, I didn't cheer in Oppenheimer, or anything like that. It's I honestly, there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff, and I know that.
Don't tell me you didn't cheer when Jamie Lee Curtis killed Michael Myers for
there
the
was a solemn fist pump. But that's what I mean, like, the Friday the 13th movies I've seen, like the famous kills, people like, laughing or clapping. I think there's a time and a place for stuff like that, but I think, and you're more well versed in this, I think that culture has kind of shifted specifically with the culture of superhero movies. And I know I'm not going to give you shit because you're not part of that crowd, but I know it's almost like encouraged now.
It's sad because when it's organic, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can tell when it's a stage. I don't know if I've ever brought it up directly on the show, but it is. If you traverse the internet, you've seen the clip of the guy losing his shit at the end of Black Adam when Henry Cavill shows up, and it was like that was staged. That was he had a dude all the way down, like a few rows down, pointing the camera at him, just so that he could put it up online and go viral, I guess. And that's no
I
fun.
No, and I'll be way more forgiving of someone reacting that way if they don't have their phone out with the flash on it, like filming the screen.
Yes.
That you're just a piece of shit at that point.
Yes. All that said,
Sorry to our Wicked fans out there.
I think that there are some movies, especially like those sing along editions. That's a free for all. You can do whatever you want, I guess. But
I kid. There are exceptions, like I said, but like if someone like when Ric Flair showed up in the Iron Claw, if someone was like, "Oh fuck," I would have been like, "Sit down."
Show some respect.
Yeah, this Ric Flair is terrible. Don't applaud that.
I did not cheer when I watched this movie, but the story of how I reacted, which was very positively, is in the episode. So listen to the episode if you want to hear how I experienced Spider-Man: No Way Home in theaters. I will say it was still the COVID times. So
yeah, Dark Knight. When I saw that in a sold out theater, it wasn't like a cacophony, but there was like when Gordon comes back and puts the shotgun to Joker's head, the crowd, like you heard several yeahs, and like there was like a good golf clap in the crowd when that happened.
How about when Michael Caine like opens the portal and Michael Keaton walks in.
Michael Keaton and then Val Kilmer's just like
all right, next. Olivia Zayas Ryan from Bitch Media says,
hell yeah.
For Maguire and Garfield's characters, the multiverse allows them a chance to make things right in the MCU. It is more so with Andrew Garfield than with Tobey Maguire, even though I think that both of those series, like, they don't have like an actual ending, right? Like the last thing you see of Tobey Maguire is him kind of making up with Mary Jane, and then the last thing you see of Andrew Garfield is him about to fight
that's
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, that one's definitely that wasn't supposed to be the end.
Yeah, I think that the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, his Peter Parker, definitely kind of completes an arc or gets a sort of a more graceful ending, and I think to a point his Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker too, right? I didn't think that I needed any more closure between him and Dr. Octopus or between him and the Green Goblin, but they somehow managed to do something here that doesn't feel tacked on. Do you feel more at peace with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man after watching this movie, or you're like, it was better before?
I'm glad Andrew Garfield's doing okay after
This is not I was eating at you for years.
No. The scene, the trauma dumping they do, I kind of enjoy that in the sense of like these two series that came before, they all, know what each other went. That's the closest to like, oh, this is kind of cool that they're all together that I came to in that.
Yeah, like it almost feels like a real movie. they're talking about actual things.
Founder of Bitch Media, by the way, Meredith Brooks.
Took me a moment, but I was alive when that music video was doing the rounds. Eddie Harrison from filmauthority.com says, a polished piece of fan service accurately reflects the way pop culture is eating itself right now.
Yep.
Look, I gave you the disclaimer at the end of the Far From Home episode, just kind of like getting you ready. I said, Alex, you have to keep in mind that when No Way Home came out, it was not like a new multiverse movie every week. It was still kind of new and fresh in the idea of bringing actors that had portrayed the same character in the past. It was kind of like a big deal. So yes. When you watch it today, you're like, oh well, that's what they're
Yeah.
doing everywhere, right? But in isolation, I think that you have to give it a little bit of credit. It kind of got there first, or among the first. I think Spider Verse got there first, and then maybe this one. Uh, I don't particularly care for the nostalgia movement now that seems to have taken over so much of. Is it just
Yeah.
superhero storytelling, or is it movies in general? I think it's movies in general, right?
Yeah. It's basically a living wave of it used to be better. Just people like acknowledging that in a much, dude, it's a matter of time before fast food restaurants start bringing back like, old style packaging and shit like that. Retro is what they'll call it. And, clothing. Everyone tries to, not everyone, not you and me, but like the youths and shit, they're just trying to dress like it's the 90s and early 2000s again. And it's because I'm not saying it's because of this movie, but like it's a wave of just acknowledgement that it used to be better. And I don't
I
know.
Look, there's a
As
more
much as that,
cynical way of looking at it. You're being very romantic about it to say that
Mhm.
we yearn for the simpler times when things were good. I
Oh, you
see it.
didn't let me finish my thought.
Oh, okay, finish.
When it comes to movie, because like I said, I am a peddler of it used to be better with a lot of like my interests, but we're getting down to brass tacks with this. It's from a place of sheer fucking laziness, and that's what I talk about in the episode of we have no ideas, so it's member berries from South Park.
Uh,
Remember, Thundercats? Remember Tobey Maguire? Remember in like the idea of pining for the Andrew Garfield movies back, which even the first one was okay at best. It's yes, there is a cynical side to it, but again, this movie made $2 billion, so I'm
okay,
wrong.
there's a middle ground. See, I did not expect you to go all the way to the. These people just don't want to do anything. I think it's a shortcut, and maybe that's a nicer word for like laziness, but just the idea that they figure out that there's a market, a big market for just let's call them like the member berries, like just we're gonna show you something that you enjoyed in the past, and isn't it cool? And so I think that there is a belief that that thing used to be cool and it might still be cool, but it's also just this idea that well we can just take this shortcut to the emotional response if we show you Tobey Maguire dressed as Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield dressed as Spider-Man. It works on me. It works like gangbusters. Listen to the episode. Even before listening to the episode, if you know me from previous episodes of the show, you know that this is really up my alley. And maybe the Flash movie was really up someone else's alley, not mine. But that kind of fan service. Are you seeing
You got a
horror movies now, Alex?
multiverse? Well, there was a long time ago. It's not a multiverse thing, but there was this idea for a Friday the 13th movie where, like, I think it would have been like I don't remember which one it was supposed to be, but the idea was like Tommy Jarvis and all the survivors from like the first X amount of movies came together to try to finally kill Jason once and for all. That's not really a multiverse, but that like you could still do something like that. I have no interest in like a movie where every Leatherface appears. Like that
Yet.
doesn't do much for me.
Wait till you see the
No,
trailer.
I'm tagged out on that. What I find interesting is you gotta wonder, like, because there's a large amount of people that paid to see this movie that have not seen one of those Tobey Maguire movies, and possibly not one of those Andrew Garfield movies. And you really have to wonder, like, they could have just added more money onto it if physical media was still a thing, or, and this is something that film studios could do if they cared to, make people believe that physical media means something again. Because then they could have just done like the Tobey Maguire box set, and I'm assuming if there's not one already, there's going to be at some point a box set that has like all the Spider-Man movies in
There
it.
better be.
Yeah.
They did a series of screenings. It was,
There you go.
I think it was last year, and they were basically every Saturday. No, it was during the week. That's why I couldn't go and see it. I think like every Monday they were showing a new movie, and so it was like the Raimis, the Andrew Garfields, and then the Tom Hollands.
The
And
old Jim Cameron trick. If I got a new movie coming out, I'm going to re-release one of my old ones so we can push it over the top.
yeah. I think I'll just to finish this point. Like I would conflate it with the prequel phenomenon. Like I think that that's a combination also of nostalgia and just taking that shortcut. It's like, oh, we don't have to like the lore is already there, so we can just kind of tell you a lost chapter of the lore instead of moving the lore forward. And that's not saying that you can't make a good movie out of that, because you can, but I think that most of the time they're not great movies, and they have to work harder to get me interested. So
credit where it's due, and this is not to say that they are all good movies, because they most certainly are not, but it really makes you look at something like the 9 Star Wars movies and appreciate it a little bit more, that it's all within the same universe, like, and not just we have to take these shortcuts where, oh, there's a portal now because Benedict Cumberbatch said so, and
we have no time to to delve into the complexities of that statement. Why would you bring Star Wars into this discussion? I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And you know what? My counter argument,
to be clear, this movie's way better than at least 2 of the Star Wars movies.
Yes. I think that the thing with the Star Wars, anything Star Wars post Return of the Jedi, is that they can't get away from the Jedis. And that is, you know, I don't know if you watched The Mandalorian, but Mandalorian starts off as a bounty hunter show, but then they can't help themselves. And then you have like, eventually
that becomes the multiverse part of it, is all these offshoots they've done, the prequels, and like, you know, Rogue One was what it was, but they all eventually come back to this shortcut, as you call it, of like, well, remember this? How do we get to it? All right, sounds good. Call it McGuire.
We got a Star Wars movie from Rian Johnson, so maybe it's all worth it.
Yeah, we peaked on the phone with that one, brother.
All right. Well, those were the quotes. Let's talk about the trailer, Alex.
Gave a lot away.
It did. It started, and I was like, oh, they're being pretty coy about this, because I had never seen the trailer. I did what I could to stay unspoiled before watching the movie, and then after I watched the movie, I watched it. Yeah.
If I was like hyped for this, I kind of would have thought the trailer gave a lot away.
Yeah. It's funny because the first, 30 seconds, it doesn't, right? It's just hinting. It shows you the pumpkin bomb. It shows you the tentacles. So you don't know that the actors are coming back. You're like, oh, it's just a new Dr. Octopus, a new Green Goblin, even a new Electro. Like you see, you know, you wouldn't think that it's Jamie Foxx. But then by the time the trailer's over, man, they just gave away almost everything.
The only thing they don't give away is that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up.
Yes.
Which, as you educate me on the episode, was a big, like, close to curtain for it. People were like trying to piece it together and figure it out. But yeah, like, you have voiceover in the trailer from Jamie Foxx. You get the Green Goblin laugh, which could have been ambiguous enough, but then you actually get Willem Dafoe voiceover in the trailer, and then like they just show Alfred Molina. And then at the end of the trailer, they show the Sandman and the Lizard.
It's everybody. Even more troubling. Not troubling. I think that, if I'd seen this movie, if I'd seen the trailer before watching the movie, I know that I would have gotten chills, because you get the shot of Mary Jane falling, and then you see like what looks like Tom Holland trying to save her. And then in the context of the movie is something even more awesome. But I would like, oh my God, they're redoing it. It's Mary Jane falling like in the original. It worked on me, Alex. The member berries, they were
what that pays off with in the movie is one of the things I was most complimentary about.
Yes.
It made me mad because it made me reassess if a bad movie was bad or not.
Do I need to rewatch Amazing Spider-Man 2?
No.
Did you notice that they sanitized Doctor Strange's line and he said "Scooby-Doo this crap" instead of?
Yeah, that's snakes on a plane. In the trailer was, I'm tired of these snakes on a plane. In the actual movie, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. That's a pretty classic play. I did laugh really hard that tickets went on sale on Black Friday and they referred to it as Spider Monday, or Cyber Monday, excuse me. And I forget that we have 2 holidays now built around shopping that weekend. The tickets went on sale on Cyber Monday and they refer to it as Spider Monday. I was like, capitalism.
Yeah, you gotta exploit it when you have it. Like, I think that they knew this movie was gonna make a gazillion. Maybe they didn't actually. Like I said, this was when a new variant of the coronavirus was popping up, so some people were hesitant to go to theaters.
Massive props for one misdirection in the trailer, that it's a quick shot of Spider-Man. And in the movie, we know he just turns his suit inside out. So it's like all the electronics just facing out. But the way they cut it in this, it looks like that. Is it Spider-Man Infinity? Which is the one where it's like the black suit with the gold trim on it? Like,
not Captain Universe, but I know what you're talking about. Like, it's one of his.
But it's such a quick
suits.
shot, you could believe that like it was something like that, and it's way less cool in the movie. But in that moment, it's like, well, hold on.
Yeah, they also show you that you're right. As I was watching, I was like, this is awesome, but also I'm glad that I didn't know any of this going in, because they even show you that he's going to fight with Doctor Strange, which is one of the most out there moments in the movie. Here they show you the beginning. So
a lot of like the what do they call it, the mirror galaxy or whatever, where they
the
fight?
mirror universe, the mirror reality,
whatever. But yeah, a lot of like Inception style shots.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot given away here. I mean, that's always the trick, right? So talked about the Dark Knight earlier. I remember my friends at the time all, because that trailer, for those of you who weren't like of conscious mind during that point, that was like broken down like the Zapruder film over and over. People were like, all right, what does this mean? What does this mean? People were like, they just gave too much away in the trailer. And then you saw the movie, it's like, they didn't give away shit. And that's kind of the thing here. I guess you have to have the hook to tell people like a little bit of what's going to be there. And they didn't spoil like the big thing in it, but I still thought it was a bit spoiler heavy.
Yeah. I don't think you get a single shot of Marissa Tomei, which maybe would have made somebody go, But you get Jon Favreau. You get like a dramatic close-up of Jon Favreau.
It's a shot of him watching her die.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an effective trailer, just not the kind of trailer that I like. I like that my trailer's a little more mysterious, like Far From Home mysterious, because he's the bad guy in Far From Home. So that's why. So anyway, that was the trailer. Watch it now because you've seen the movie. You'll It's like watching the movie in like 30 seconds. Let's move on to the Josh Gad Minute. We're going to put Josh Gad version in this movie. It doesn't have to be our Josh Gad. It can be a Josh Gad from a different universe. The multi-Gad verse is what we're going to pull from here. Who do you recast as Josh Gad in Spider-Man No Way Home, Alex?
You don't recast anybody. Because if this movie is going to be as just kind of silly as it is, and like there are rules, but not really rules. My theory, or my way I would use Josh Gad, is he's introduced into the MCU for the first time, and we learn that he's Happy Hogan from another universe. And like
Amazing.
he comes out, and him and Jon Favreau have like a line-a-rama or some shit about like, you're me. That's because you can just see him in the suit, right? Like the black suit with the white undershirt, like running into Jon Favreau. I think that would result, and that would be the best use of him. Like, real sweaty and confused and not understanding what's going on, and then getting to some real quick, witty dialogue back and forth with Jon Favreau.
Damn it, I am stumped. That might be the best ever. I was gonna try to like make a joke about how Ned opens a portal and then in comes in Josh Gad as a Spider-Man, but Happy Hogan is even better because that plays more to his strengths.
Like the 5 o'clock shadow, and the glasses are all askew.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Josh Gad, come on in. We'll put you in a Spider-Man movie. That's how you do it. Yeah. And then it can turn out that he's the Happy Hogan from the Spider-Man Noir universe. And then you can have a recurring role in the Amazon show, and everything comes together and we all make money. So let's do it.
That's the point. Like, they can just make this shit up as they go along and figure it out later. So, why not have some fun with it while we're here?
All right. Well, that was a Josh Gad Minute. Let's go to trivia. Alex, what do you have for me?
Okay. So our standard stuff here, directed by John Watts, written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. This was a holiday release. It premiered on December 13th at the Fox Village Theater, and it was released on December 17th for mass consumption, 2001. So still a bit of a sticky time period for COVID. Budget of $200 million with a box office return of just shy of $2 billion. That's a billion with a B. 1.953 is it cited here. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could find a lot of interesting tidbits here and there about this movie. But the one thing I'm going to focus on, and that I found for our purposes, is something we discussed in the episode itself, and kind of theorize about, Julio seemed to have a bit of insight to it. It is the appearances of the Sandman and the Lizard in this, and that Rise Iphans and UNT alum Thomas Hayden Church don't actually appear in the movie. And I, for once in the history of this podcast, I bought CG, and Julio had to smarten me up when they show Thomas Hayden Church's face. I'm like, he's there. It's like, no, it wasn't him. So I found an article published April 17th of 2022. I believe this was in conjunction with the release of the DVD and Blu-ray. And this is from Screen Rant, and it's written by Josh Planice. Josh, I apologize, mispronounced that. Sandman and Lizard actors Thomas Hayden Church and Rise Iphans didn't film any new material for Spider-Man No Way Home, John Watt's third and final installment in the Marvel Studios / Sony's Homecoming trilogy, released in theaters on December 17th of 2021. The record-breaking blockbuster sees Peter Parker, Tom Holland, and Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, accidentally crack open the multiverse, bringing characters from Sony's past into the MCU. By capitalizing on Phase 4's multiverse concept, No Way Home was able to pay homage to Spider-Man's cinema of old. In addition to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's web slingers, the film introduced their respective villains to the MCU, including Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, Electro, Jamie Foxx, Sandman, and Lizard. However, while the fans got to see Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and Electro's human faces, Sandman and Lizard mostly just appear in their CGI forms throughout the film. It's been revealed that Church and Iphans, who appeared in Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man, respectively, were never actually on set for No Way Home. Popular VFX YouTube channel The Corridor Crew recently talked to Digital Domain's VFX supervisor, Kelly Port, to break down the No Way Home CGI. Port further explained Church and Iphans were never involved with the film's production and how they used footage from previous films from their human to form their human form. The quote here: "We didn't really have access to Rise Iphans or Thomas Hayden Church, so we actually ended up using footage from the previous films and manipulating it. So Rise Iphans, when he's healing, we actually used an outtake. And that was shot on film, scanned at a high resolution, body tracked, and everything. So ultimately, ended up being a lot of CG, especially for Thomas Hayden Church when he's transforming. We had to manipulate it to get it into the scene lighting wise and all sorts of stuff like that. This is terrifying, dude. Like, I was reading this before.
It's terrifying, right, because of the power. But I'm assuming that they got consent from Iphans and Thomas Hayden Church to like do this, right?
Especially like in 2007, I can't imagine like that would have yet been the point where like AI is written into contracts and shit like that.
Right. That's what they didn't sign the rights away whenever they signed up for those movies back then.
It's I'll just finish this out real quick. The powers that be did likely reach out to Iphans and Church to film new scenes for No Way Home. However, being that Molina, Fox, and Dafoe had much more prominent roles, it wasn't necessary due to the seamless implementation of archived footage. In The Amazing Spider-Man, Kurt Connors / Lizard's ultimate goal was to turn the human population into lizard hybrids, and in Spider-Man 3, Flint Marko / Sandman. While the criminal who killed Uncle Ben, it's more of a case of wrong place, wrong time. Their storylines and motives didn't lend much to No Way Home's story, but Iphans and Church recorded dialogue for their respective baddies.
Okay.
And fans were delighted to have them all the same. He didn't sound like Rise Iphans when the Lizard was talking, but, I guess so.
Oh, he sounds like the Lizard, Alex. It's called acting.
Oh, yes. And for Thomas Hayden Church, they just did like the episode of South Park when Chef quit, and so they just like pieced together real sloppily like dialogue from the previous episodes. Past Spider-Man films, notably Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, have struggled to balance multiple antagonists. Spider-Man No Way Home succeeds in almost all the ways those films failed. As a result, it has become one of the highest grossing movies of all time, with $800 million in the US and $1.8 billion at the worldwide box office. Fans who wanted to relive Iphans, Church, and everyone else's return can now purchase the No Way Home DVD, Blu-ray, or 4K. So,
please do.
Yeah. So answers our question there. You're right. It's just kind of terrifying in concept and how seamless it is, and the patching it in there. But if they recorded new dialogue for it, then
Obviously, they were. Yeah,
they got a piece of the pie, and for doing the least amount of work too. I mean, I'd take that. They saw like Willem Dafoe all rigged up to fucking cables and shit and flying through the air, and idiot.
Rhys Ifans is in the shower as he's recording his 2 lines. That's why he doesn't sound like himself, Alex. It's the echo in the bathroom. It's just terrible acoustics wherever he recorded his dialogue.
He recorded it just on his phone, just like talking into it. Like, oh, Peter, no. I did find a Reddit thread from around the time of the release also that was just, talking about why weren't they actually in it? And one of them was interesting. It talked about you have to wonder how much COVID factored into it because the time they were filming was fall of 2020. And so, if it was just easier and cost effective to just have THC sit at home and, talk into his computer.
Thomas Hayden Church refused to be vaccinated. They're like, that's okay. We got you. Just send us the files.
They finished filming in March of 2021, which that's like right when the vaccine was rolling out to anybody over the age of 60. So yeah, this would have been all during Wild West times, so to speak. And one of the things I saw was COVID affected. There's no source to this, but one of the things they said that COVID affected was they originally had written that Marissa Tomei died in an ambulance ride to the hospital with like Peter and Happy Hogan in there with her, and they couldn't do that because they couldn't have that many people in that confined of a space filming at that point in time. I don't know how true that is, but I was thinking, I was like, that might have made the scene a little bit more impactful, but I guess we'll never know, as Kanye West would say.
I don't know. I like Happy Hogan, and I like Jon Favreau's take on him and all that. And I think that it's his unexpected relationship with Aunt May is cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I prefer the idea that Aunt May's death is just between her and Peter, and
like Uncle
nobody
Ben.
else. Yeah, no doctors, no Happy Hogan. It's just a moment between them. It should be,
That's fair.
Yeah,
you're the.
I'm wearing the Spider-Man shirt, so
yes.
I
will take your word for it.
I get final say.
Yeah, you have the final. You have full creative control of this conversation.
Well, that's it for this warm-up. There's a full episode, Contrarians Corner and Real Talk, about No Way Home. As mentioned earlier, there's also a conversation about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 on the Patreon, and sometime after this drops, hopefully soon, there will also be a conversation about comics, Spider-Man comics, on our Patreon. Mm-hmm. We're going all out. I gotta have Alex's attention, so I got to pump him full of Spider-Man content before he just has enough. So we're gonna talk about the Death of Gwen Stacy collection and then the first volume of Ultimate Spider-Man. Why? Well, I think the reasons are obvious, but if you want to know, just listen to the episode. Just check out the Patreon and listen to that. Coming up next, we're done with Spider-Man, and Alex, it's an Indian movie that's next on our just main feed journey, but I don't remember the name. Anhadhun? Is that it?
I remember we had a bit of difficulty trying to figure out the pronunciation of this in our episode as well. Andhadhun. It's Andhadhun. So by the time we watch the movie, I imagine we'll be educated on how to pronounce it correctly.
Yes, it is exactly what you wouldn't expect following these 2 episodes that are all about the MCU and Spider-Man. And now we don't know anything about this movie other than it's fresh, and it was requested by patrons too. So, watch it. It's on Netflix, I think, and come back after you watch all the Spider-Man content that we just put out. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the show and the videos, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, y'all.